When people make chart, it always looks like this. It's always the same bluish color, sometimes there is some orange, and it just overall looks pretty bad. I feel like all the charts are using different data, but they all look exactly the same. So the question is, what is the difference with those charts, which are actually very good looking, much more informative, and they just seem much more relevant, like they have actual design and a defined style, precise colors, all that kind of stuff. Basically, they spend time thinking how my chart is supposed to look like. But this is very complicated because you have to know what makes a good chart, what is a good design, you have to learn design principles, and this can be very complicated. The good news is that in pretty much all visualization library, you have a thing called theme. A theme is basically just a set of predefined parameters that will change how your chart look like. For example, in matplotlib, I've created a package named more themes, and it's basically one line of code that will drastically change how your chart looks like. For example, here I have a bunch of code that generates the chart that you can see on the right, and once again, it's always the same default chart. It's very basic, colors are kind of very boring, there is no clear message, a lot of useless things appear on the chart. But thanks to more theme, we can basically just write one line of code outside of importing the package, obviously. So I can just enter empty.setTheme, and then I can enter a string, and this can be any of the following ones that will just change entirely how the chart looks like. Let's say I want to try the first one, which is Wall Street Journal, and if I run the same code again, you can see that the chart is now much better, and it's just a single line of code, which means this is basically a very low effort to make, just to make your chart much better. And the good thing with having just one line of code is that it makes it very easy to try different themes and see how it renders on your actual chart. So in the more theme package, I have 16 themes right now, and you can just browse them and see which one fits you the more. For example, I like this one, which is trying to mimic how Financial Times make their chart. So I can just go back to my code, I replace Wall Street Journal with Financial Times, I run this again, and you can see that the chart is now very different, much more better, and much more professional too. The thing is that very often people won't use specific branding guidelines, and ideally be able to put that into a theme so that they can reuse the branding guidelines for any kind of chart they are making. And it pretty much does not matter which tool you are using to make your chart, whether it's matplotlib, ggplot2 or whatever, you'll find some way to create your own theme and reuse them in different places. With more theme, I've created a small guide on how to create your own theme and how to reuse it across your project. So I basically explain what you have to do to change default parameters, and basically step by step how to create an actual theme, how to put it into a function. For example, you can create this kind of theme even if it's very ugly, that's just an example. And very often you can do pretty much anything you want when creating your theme, and it's not very complicated. In ggplot2 you have the theme function that you can use to create any kind of theme you want. It's very easy to use and it's very powerful. I highly recommend you having a look. Themes are a very easy win when it comes to data visualization, because it's just most of the time one line of code that drastically changes how your chart looks. So you should definitely have a look, try to create your own ones, try different ones instead of sticking to the default chart, which often looks pretty bad. But since often you want to do something very specific that a theme cannot do, and you want to learn how to create actual great chart, learn data visualization, how to code charts properly, I highly recommend you to have a look. I have a course I've co-created called Matplotlib Journey, and it will basically guide you on everything you need to know to make great charts, from the basics to making actual data visualization that people want to look at, tell a story, all that kind of stuff in a single website. And its battery is included in the sense that you don't have to install anything to work. We have a dedicated platform where you can just code inside your browser. So for example, I can just change it, run it, and it will update the chart. Hope you enjoyed the video, and see you soon.